It was January 23, 2017, an ordinary Monday afternoon in Woodland Hills, Los Angeles. The winter sun hung low over the quiet suburban neighborhood, where palm trees swayed gently in the breeze. On the surface, everything seemed calm. But inside one home on Sale Avenue, horror was quietly unfolding. When the police arrived at the scene, they were met with a chilling sight. In the backyard, near the patio, lay the lifeless body of Fabio Sementilli, a man beloved by many in the beauty industry. His body was slumped on the ground, covered in blood, with multiple stab wounds to his neck and face. The area around him told a story of violence and chaos. Overturned furniture, blood trails, and broken fragments of a life brutally cut short. Before we continue, welcome to Crime Uncovered, where every case has a story, and the truth is often stranger and darker than fiction. If you haven't subscribed yet, make sure to hit that button to stay updated on the latest true crime cases we uncover. And to our returning subscribers, thank you for your continued support. Don't forget to like this video so it reaches more people who care about the truth behind the headlines. I would love to know where you are watching from. Drop your country in the comments below. So back to the case. Fabio's wife, Monica Sementilli, told the police she had found him when she returned home from running errands. She appeared shaken, her voice trembling as she explained that she'd gone out for just a short while, only to come back and find her husband dead. Officers immediately began their investigation, noting every detail: the broken patio door, the ransacked drawers, and the missing car. At first glance, it looked like a home invasion gone wrong. A robbery, perhaps. Fabio's Porsche was gone, suggesting the killer or killers had fled in it. The neighbors, stunned by the scene, told police they had seen nothing unusual. No sounds, no strangers, no screams. Everything pointed to a random act of violence, but something about the scene felt too neat, too organized. Fabio was no ordinary man. At 49 years old, he was a well-known executive at Wella, one of the world's biggest haircare companies. Charismatic, passionate, and full of life, he was admired in his field, not only for his talent but for his kindness and drive to mentor others. To everyone who knew him, he was a loving husband, a proud father of 2 daughters, and a man who lived for his family. As the news of his death spread, the beauty industry was left in shock. Tributes poured in from stylists, colleagues, and friends around the world. They spoke of Fabio's energy, his generosity, and his infectious enthusiasm for his work. The world mourned the loss of a man who had touched so many lives. But behind the heartbreak, detectives sensed something darker. The way the scene was staged, the broken glass that didn't match the direction of the struggle, the missing car that was later found abandoned, it all raised questions. Nothing seemed to fit perfectly. And so, what began as a heartbreaking tragedy soon took a more sinister turn. Police began digging deeper into Fabio's marriage, his finances, and his relationships. The answers they found would expose a shocking web of lies, betrayal, and cold-blooded murder. Before his tragic death, Fabio Sementilli had built a life that many admired. Born in Toronto, Canada, to Italian immigrant parents, he had grown up surrounded by love, discipline, and a deep appreciation for hard work. From an early age, Fabio was passionate about hairstyling. What started as curiosity soon turned into a lifelong career that would earn him recognition and respect around the world. By the time he moved to Los Angeles, Fabio had already made a name for himself in the beauty industry. His work with Wella, where he served as vice president of education, allowed him to travel across countries, teaching stylists and inspiring others to chase their dreams. His presence was magnetic. People remembered his warm smile, his motivational speeches, and the way he made everyone feel valued. At home, Fabio was known as a devoted husband and a proud father of 2 daughters, one of whom was a teenager and the other away in college. To outsiders, the Sementilli family appeared picture-perfect. Beautiful home, luxury cars, and a comfortable lifestyle built from years of dedication and hard work. Friends described Fabio as a family man who adored his wife, Monica, and constantly spoke about how grateful he was for the life they had created together. But, as police would soon learn, Even the most perfect-looking families can hide painful secrets. When investigators began looking closely at Monica, they noticed inconsistencies in her statements. Her account of the day didn't quite align with the evidence. Surveillance footage from the neighborhood didn't show her car leaving the house at the exact time she claimed. And her reactions at the scene struck some officers as oddly detached, more confused than devastated. Meanwhile, detectives tracked down Fabio's missing Porsche. It had been found abandoned several miles away, with no fingerprints or clues leading to a suspect. But inside the car, police discovered something crucial: DNA traces that didn't belong to Fabio or Monica. At this point, the case had become a mystery that needed careful unraveling. Was it really a burglary gone wrong? Or had someone planned Fabio's death with precision? Detectives began exploring every angle, determined to find out who would want this beloved man dead. Then came a shocking revelation. Investigators learned that Monica had been having an affair with a man named Robert Baker, a former professional race car driver. The discovery changed everything. Monica and Robert had met through mutual friends and had kept their relationship secret for years. Their affair was intense, filled with secrecy, passion, and danger. But behind it all was a dark motive that neither of them could hide forever. When detectives first uncovered the affair between Monica Sementilli and Robert Baker, they couldn't believe how deeply entwined their lives had become. What started as a romantic secret had turned into a dangerous partnership built on lies, deception, and greed. Monica, who appeared to the world as a loyal wife and caring mother, was living a double life. Behind Fabio's back, she and Robert had been meeting in secret for years. They shared intimate messages, late-night calls, and weekends together whenever they could get away with it. But their affair wasn't just about passion, it had a darker side. Investigators soon discovered that Monica and Robert were also connected financially. They had discussed money, debts, and even how life would be easier if Fabio wasn't around. As detectives dug deeper, they began piecing together a possible motive. Fabio had a life insurance policy worth over $1.6 million, with Monica listed as the main beneficiary. The discovery made investigators' suspicions grow stronger. Was this the reason Fabio was killed? To understand what really happened, police revisited the crime scene. The evidence didn't fit the story of a random burglary. Fabio had been attacked from behind while sitting outside by the pool. There were no signs of forced entry into the house, and nothing valuable had been stolen, except for his car, which appeared to have been taken only to mislead investigators. The brutal nature of the attack also revealed something personal. Fabio had been stabbed more than a dozen times, and his throat had been slashed. This wasn't the work of a stranger. It was an act driven by rage and emotion. Detectives began to focus heavily on Robert Baker, the man who had been secretly seeing Monica. Robert was known for his charm, his love of fast cars, and his ability to manipulate those around him. When questioned, he appeared calm and confident, denying any involvement in Fabio's murder. He claimed he had nothing to do with it, that he was home that day miles away from the crime scene. But phone records told a different story. Robert's cell phone had pinged near the Sementilli home around the time Fabio was killed. Even more suspicious, security footage from a nearby street captured a car resembling Robert's vehicle driving toward Fabio's neighborhood. As the evidence built up, police realized they were dealing with more than just a love affair. They were uncovering a premeditated murder. The story of Fabio's murder didn't start on the day he died. It began weeks earlier, with a sinister plan that had been quietly forming between Monica Sementilli and Robert Baker. Investigators learned that Robert had reached out to an old friend from Alaska named Chris Austin, offering him money to help with the job. Chris had no idea what he was getting into at first, but Robert made it sound like an opportunity that could solve both their financial problems. Robert even went as far as paying for Chris's plane ticket from Alaska to California. When Chris landed at LAX on January 20th, 2017, Robert picked him up personally and let him stay at his house. That same night, Robert handed Chris a knife, telling him they would soon have to take care of something. The plan was simple but cold-blooded. They would wait for the perfect moment, a time when Fabio would be home alone and vulnerable. According to Robert, Monica didn't explicitly tell him when that would be, but he claimed he could read between the lines of her text messages. He knew that Fabio was supposed to go out to get food, and that would be the perfect opportunity. So, Robert left Chris at a specific location, expecting him to ambush Fabio on a quiet stretch of road. But that attempt failed, and Fabio returned home unharmed. Robert, however, wasn't ready to give up. 3 days later, on January 23rd, another opportunity arose. That morning, Robert met Monica to play racquetball, a detail she conveniently left out of her police interview later that night. During their casual chat, Robert asked her what Fabio's plans were for the day. When Monica mentioned that her husband would be home alone, Robert knew the time had come. He and Chris parked their car about a mile away from the Sementilli residence. Wearing hoodies to hide their faces, they walked toward the house with knives in their hands. Security cameras around the neighborhood later captured their movements. Robert snuck into the backyard while Chris kept watch near the front. Fabio was by the pool, enjoying a quiet afternoon. But peace turned to chaos in seconds. Robert attacked swiftly and without warning. Fabio tried to fight back, but Robert was relentless. Though Fabio was larger and stronger, he was unprepared for the vicious assault. The attack was over within moments. Fabio was dead, lying in a pool of his own blood. After the murder, Robert and Chris fled the scene in Fabio's Porsche, hoping to stage it as a robbery gone wrong. But their plan was sloppy. The car was later found abandoned, with Robert's blood inside. That single piece of evidence would unravel everything they tried to hide. When detectives traced the blood in Fabio's Porsche back to Robert Baker, the puzzle began to take shape. But there was still one major piece missing: Monica Sementilli. At first, Monica played the role of a grieving widow flawlessly. She cried for the cameras, spoke lovingly about her late husband, and appeared shattered by his death. But beneath the tears, her actions told another story, one filled with deceit, manipulation, and lust. Investigators discovered that on the day Fabio was killed, Monica and Robert had exchanged 95 encrypted Viber messages. It was a shocking number, nearly 100 texts back and forth while her husband was being murdered. That night, Robert deleted the Viber app completely, wiping out every trace of their communication. When detectives later asked Monica for the passcode to her phone, she claimed she couldn't remember it. For someone in shock, that might have sounded believable. But when police eventually accessed her phone, they found the truth. Her passcode was Robert's birthday. She wasn't a clueless bystander. She was deeply attached to her husband's killer. Monica had even started introducing herself to new people as Monica Baker, using Robert's surname instead of her own. When asked why, she casually claimed that Baker was easier to pronounce. But the truth was far more sinister. She was already seeing herself as Robert's partner in more than just an affair. Detectives found messages suggesting Monica had promised Robert a new life together, one funded by Fabio's life insurance payout. She allegedly planned to buy Robert a house in Las Vegas once the money came through. Her behavior after the murder made things worse. Just weeks after Fabio's death, Monica and Robert were spotted together at a pub. Surveillance cameras caught them kissing outside, carefree and smiling. A public display of affection that sent chills down investigators' spines. This was no grieving widow. Then came another bombshell. On the day of the murder, Monica was seen at a Target store, meeting with Robert in the parking lot before going inside to shop. She was calm, glued to her phone as she walked the aisles, checking her home security feed and waiting for confirmation that the murder she'd set in motion was complete. When police reviewed the store's CCTV footage, it became clear. Monica had gone there deliberately to create an alibi, while Robert carried out the killing. By now, detectives were convinced Monica wasn't just a bystander. She was the mastermind. They began monitoring both Monica and Robert closely. For months, they tracked their movements and conversations, waiting for the right moment. That moment came on August 7, 2017, when police arrested them together. But even behind bars, their twisted connection didn't end. Like a modern-day Bonnie and Clyde, Monica and Robert continued to speak through the jail phone system. Their conversations were shockingly intimate. Not remorseful, not fearful, but filled with the same lust and delusion that had led to murder. During one of these calls, Robert claimed that Monica had no idea he had killed Fabio. But investigators didn't buy it. The evidence was piling up, and every piece pointed straight to her. As the case unfolded, police continued piecing together every move Monica and Robert had made. Their story was falling apart. And soon, the truth began spilling out. Robert had always insisted that Monica knew nothing about the murder. But detectives weren't fooled. They had already uncovered an email Monica sent to Robert in June 2016, months before Fabio's death. In that email, she gave him the login details to her home security system, even explaining where the DVR recorder was located. That meant Robert knew exactly how to disable and remove the system before killing Fabio, ensuring the murder wouldn't be caught on camera. Monica wasn't just complicit. She had helped design the entire crime. Surveillance footage from neighbors later showed two men in hoodies running from the Sementilli home around the time of the murder. Detectives knew one of them was Robert, but who was the second man? For months, investigators chased leads. They initially suspected Alfred "Al" Birdsong, one of Robert's old friends from Texas. But Birdsong had a solid alibi. He was quickly ruled out. Then, in October 2017, the breakthrough came. Using phone records and bank transactions, detectives traced the second suspect, Chris Austin, Robert's friend from Alaska. When police brought Chris in, he broke down immediately. Overwhelmed and terrified, he confessed, admitting to second-degree murder and to using a knife during the attack. In exchange, he agreed to testify against both Robert and Monica. His confession filled in the final pieces of the puzzle. Chris revealed that Robert had first contacted him in December 2016, promising a financial reward. Robert claimed the job would help both of them and hinted it involved Monica and her husband, Fabio. He told Chris that Monica was unhappy in her marriage, saying Fabio mistreated her and that she wanted out. But after the killing, Robert's story changed. He told Chris it wasn't about abuse, it was about money. Fabio's life insurance policy was worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. That was the true motive. Chris even described the failed first attempt on January 20th, when they tried to catch Fabio on the road. He confirmed Robert's role as the ringleader, explaining how Monica had kept in touch through constant messages while the murder took place. Detectives also discovered that Robert and Monica had Googled phrases like, "Can police tap my phone?" In the weeks following the murder, a desperate attempt to stay ahead of investigators. Meanwhile, Monica acted as though life was moving on. She planned to get her children out of the house, tamper with the security system again, and wait for the insurance payout that never came. The insurance company, alerted by the police, put the claim on hold indefinitely. When Chris confessed, everything began to crumble. Robert, realizing there was no way out, also pleaded guilty, but refused to testify against Monica. He claimed he acted alone and said he only wanted to protect her. During Monica's trial, Robert was called as a defense witness, insisting she had nothing to do with the murder. But by then, it was too late. His credibility was gone. He was already serving life in prison without parole. The jury didn't believe a word of it. Monica's cold, calculated behavior, the deleted messages, the affair, and the financial motive all painted a damning picture. With every confession, the truth about Fabio Sementilli's murder became clearer. It was never a random act of violence. It was a calculated plan born out of greed, betrayal, and lust. In the courtroom, the details were almost too painful to hear. The man who once smiled so brightly on television, who inspired young stylists and cherished his family, had been killed by the two people he should have been able to trust most: his wife and her lover. Robert Baker, the man who had promised Monica a future, was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. His partner in crime, Christopher Austin, received a reduced sentence in exchange for his cooperation. His testimony was the final nail in the coffin for the case. And Monica Sementilli, the woman who had once stood beside Fabio at glamorous events, now stood in court as the orchestrator of his death. Her once polished image was shattered. She was no longer the successful wife of a beloved hairstylist. She was a convicted criminal awaiting her sentence for the murder of her husband. But justice, though served, could never heal the pain left behind. Fabio's children, Isabella and Luigi, were forced to rebuild their lives from the ruins of betrayal. Their father was gone, and their mother, the person who was supposed to protect them, had been the one who took him away. Despite the darkness that surrounded her family, Isabella Sementilli carried her father's legacy in her heart. She expressed her dream of following in his footsteps, becoming a hairstylist in Hollywood, just like the man who inspired her every day. Fabio's story became more than just another headline. It was a tragic reminder of how love, when poisoned by greed, can turn deadly. The once happy Sementilli home that had been filled with laughter and success became a crime scene, a place that symbolized loss and betrayal. In the end, justice was delivered. 3 of the 4 people involved in the plot faced the consequences of their actions. But for those who loved Fabio, true peace might never come. The case left behind haunting questions. How could someone so kind, so full of life, end up the victim of such evil? And how far can human greed go before it destroys everything in its path? As the credits of this real-life tragedy rolled, one thing became clear. Fabio Sementilli's legacy lives on not in the crime that took him, but in the people he inspired, the family that still loves him, and the justice that finally spoke his name. Thank you for watching. Every victim deserves their story told. If you found this story shocking and heartbreaking, subscribe to Crime Uncovered and help keep their memory alive. What do you think about this case? Leave your thoughts in the comments. Until next time, keep questioning everything.